At one point or another, every organization will tackle a large and complex project. For example, when a software company develops a new version of a program, hundreds of programmers and millions of dollars are tied up in the commitment to bring the project to market on schedule. The same project concept applies to the shutdown of a power generating plant for annual maintenance. And it's also the case in virtually every large construction project. At Hard Rock, building a new hotel in Chicago or Orlando, or opening a new cafe is a major effort. These are massive projects that require years of planning and construction. So what exactly is project management? It's a way of organizing activities so specific tasks can be completed. Managers play a vital role in completing projects. What do project managers do? Project managers are responsible for making sure that all necessary activities are finished in proper sequence and on time, the project comes in within budget, the project meets its quality goals, and the people assigned to the project receive the motivation, direction, and information needed to do their jobs. There's no question that the completion of a new hotel or cafe is a big undertaking. But Hard Rock faces an even more challenging and exciting project than building its new cafes and hotels. Once a year, Hard Rock stages its annual Rock Fest. This 13-hour concert featuring top entertainment takes place in July and is attended by well over 100,000 fans. The planning, directed by Chris Tomaso, starts 9 months before concert day.
For the last 2 years, we've used Microsoft Project, and it ends up being probably 12 pages of scheduling, obviously with deadlines and timelines and progress charts. And we actually, to do Rockfest is about a 9-month process. 9 months out, we're probably meeting and going over the timeline maybe once a month, I would say. Everybody knows what they have to do. It's a lot of pre-work. As we got closer, probably within 6 months, it got to be weekly. And then within probably a month of the concert, we were doing twice weekly calls. And there's so many people involved that honestly, the number of people on a call was probably about 15, which doesn't sound very productive, but nobody spoke until it was something that had to do with their particular area. So as we went through and got into food and beverage, and there was a name next to that project, that person would give an update on what the status was. And many times those projects, the specific functions crossed over into other functions, and then there was an interaction on the call. There were a number of times where I was doing these calls from airports and wherever I was, but they were extremely valuable in finding out where everybody was. Find out if our advertising's been running correctly and what kind of response we've been getting on the internet, and are we having any issues with the traffic, working with the city. And obviously that's the time when you find out, when something has fallen behind, and then you have everybody there to get together and figure out what's the best way to circle the wagons, if you will, and get that particular project back up to speed so it doesn't pull anybody else down.
The software is capable of handling hundreds of activities and the relationships between them.
The activities that you need to pull an event like that off are tremendous. Obvious things that everyone thinks about, but also things that no one thinks about. From travel for the bands, not just travel into the city, but within the city when they get there, to get them to the venue. So when we have a concert this big, and there's 100, or in the case of Atlanta, 127,000 people coming, and you have 11 hours of bands performing, it's a challenge sometimes to get the bands into the facility when there's all this influx of traffic coming in. So traffic plans and site plans, where the electricity goes, where the portalets go, where the food vendors will be. Do you have enough trash service on site so that trash doesn't build up? So there's a lot of things, not to mention building the stage, which takes over a week in itself. The stage that we use for Rockfest is about the size of a football field. Because with 100,000 people, you want to make sure everybody has a great view of the stage. video magnification boards like jumbotrons, for example, so that when you're in the back. And Rockfest is unique in that it's meant for the fans. It's not meant to be a huge moneymaker. We had a midway section where there were free Ferris wheel rides, so to go up on a Ferris wheel in the middle of a racetrack and be able to look down on the stage was pretty neat, and it's just a great visual at night. And again, in the midway, just the midway itself is almost like putting on its own carnival within the rock concert. So you have food vendors and games and the Ferris wheel and tattoo artists and you know, body piercing and things like that. So it was that was an event within the event, and then also taking care of all the sponsors. There's a lot of sponsors involved in making sure their displays are the way they want them, and that the presence that they have on site is what they expected, or hopefully more than they expected.
On occasion, the plans need adjustment.
When we were working on Rockfest and using MS Project, probably one of the most important things I learned, probably didn't learn it until year 2, but was that it is okay to alter the document and the timeline based on situations. When you have a project the size of ours, inevitably there are going to be things that change that don't follow your timeline, especially things that are out of your control. So it's okay to change it as long as you keep on track and you're still shooting for your desired result and you get there.
Then concert day arrives. Even with solid planning, surprises still pop up.
The day of a rock concert, no matter how big, is nothing but surprises. So there are anticipated surprises, if that's even possible. Again, we specifically set up myself, my co-executive producer, and one other person who did nothing but handle surprises and be able to make decisions immediately. There were things such as, again, bands not being able to get into the venue because of the traffic. The concert started at 9 a.m. and people started arriving at 6 a.m. and there was probably 3 to 4 miles of traffic coming into the venue. So again, while it was a surprise that one of the bands couldn't get in, we were prepared for it in that we had a helicopter on standby. So we told the band somewhere they could go that was away from the facility that they couldn't get into, and we picked them up in a helicopter and was able to fly in. So that's one of the surprises that we were able to handle.
Still, Chris can't imagine planning such a complex event without the software tools available.
I honestly believe that it would be virtually impossible to pull off a project or a concert like Rockfest without having a tool like that to do that. There's just no way to keep that many people on the same page, especially most of them were in numerous cities. Our stage designer was in Nashville. Our production company was in New York. We're in Orlando. My talent relations staff is in LA. So just from sheer geography alone, it'd be virtually impossible to do that without software like this.
PERT, CPM, and software such as MS Project don't solve all of hard rock scheduling issues. Good management, clear responsibility, and timely reporting systems all are needed. The MS Project software used by Hard Rock and the models described in this text chapter are great tools to help managers with both project planning and decision-making tasks. Rock on!